can members of First United Methodist Church use their different gifts to honor and praise what God has done for them? In 1 Corinthians chapter 12, we hear St. Paul write to the church in Corinth. So now I'm asking you, each and every one of you, about the gifts that you've been given, where they might lie. What are you doing with them? Or are you just sitting on them? And The Music Man was a musical that was written by a gentleman from Iowa back in 1962 about a con man that turned into someone who assisted a whole town learn how to use their God-given talents. And in essence, make beautiful music. Let's remember that our gifts are for sharing, not just once or twice, but all of our lives. In fact, Jesus assures us of a very radical principle of stewardship. One, the more we give, the more we receive. Two, the more we use our gifts, the better and more lovely they become. And three, to hoard them is not only selfish, but unwise. We find that when we don't give our gifts away, we fail to use them, or when we use them in a self-centered manner, they begin to dry up. And we tend to lose more than just that single talent. So what's your decision? Are you ready to make up your mind what to do with your talents? We just heard a sampling of it with the ladies. The wonderful Tish as she plays. What a gift. But in order to enjoy it, we have to give it away. Paul wrote to the Christians in Rome, so we are to use our different gifts in accordance with the grace that God has given us. So do you remember The Music Man? Professor Harold Hill came to this small town in the Midwest to sell instruments. And yet he was actually going to swindle the town out of money until he met the librarian, Mary. You have to remember that none of the people who lived in that little Iowa town played instruments except for Marion. He gets the town attention by pointing out the trouble with the pool hall. You got trouble right here in River City. And it starts with a T. It rhymes with P and it stands for pool. Well, folks, you got trouble right here. It starts with T. It rhymes with P. And it stands for procrastination. Professor Hill continues to tell the people of River City, Iowa, about purchasing those instruments, even if they have to do it on time, buying those uniforms, and convincing all of them that once they get them, they'll form this marching band and he'll be the leader. You can only imagine the community who has no musical talent hearing that and going, yeah, sure, yeah, right, okay, ain't gonna happen here. And then there's Marion. She begins to think about the fact that he is not what he says he is. Meredith Willson wrote this love story. He was kind of like a one and done. But he loved to tell the story about years and years ago. There was this wonderful orchestra that played for the king. And the king said, it was such great music that all of you musicians can go into my treasury and take all the gold your instrument will hold. Now, the tuba player goes, Yeah. This ain't all bad, is it? The baritone player, you go, yeah, that's okay. The trombone player, that's all right. There was only one disgusted person in the whole orchestra. Tish. It's the piccolo player. It was the piccolo player. And there he stood, not getting much gold. The whole movie starts on the train going towards River City. And all the traveling salesmen are sitting there and say, it ain't going to happen. You can't make a living if you don't know the territory. You can't make a living in that town. And as Professor Harold Hill gets off the train, he meets a gentleman by the name of Marcellus Washburn that says, you'll never be able to work this racket in town. I think Professor Hill is kind of like me. When you say, you can't do that, what does that tell me? Go ahead, big boy. You're up. And so he starts by the first person he sees and begins his pitch. He continues one person at a time and sells his instruments and sells the uniforms. Eventually, he's got to contend with Marion, the librarian, because she knows the truth. She knows the truth that Professor Harold Hill couldn't have graduated when he said he did, because the school didn't even exist at that time. But you see, Marion's little brother, who was played by Ron Howard, had a lisp, and he loved S's. And he would spit all over everybody when he said them. And as Harold Hill got him involved in the music program, his speech cleared up. And he loved to say his S's then, because he could say them right. Far too many of us practice our stewardship of talents and abilities with the piccolo response. Oh, geez. Look at that tuba player. They got all the talents. They got all the gold. I got this piccolo. First of all, as a music teacher, I didn't understand how piccolo players could get their fingers crammed up to their face this close and make music. Thank God they could. But Paul says all of you are Christ's body, and each one of you is a part of it. Well, guess what? If we're going to have an orchestra here at First United Methodist Church, if we're going to have all of us come together, it's going to take a brass section. It's going to take a woodwind section. It's going to take percussionists. Yes, we even need the piccolo player and the lead trumpet. Our thinking should be, it's not a matter of what's in it for us. Rather, it's about what can we do to help the whole church meet the needs of the family, the community, the state, or the nation. In 1928, the composer Ravel wrote a piece for an orchestra beginning with just one instrument. And that instrument played for a little while. Then other instruments joined in. Other sections joined in. And is now recognized as the magnificent bolero that Ravel is noted for. Isn't that the way that Professor Hill did it? He sold one instrument at a time. He sold one uniform at a time and continued to tell the people that when they all came in, he would build that marching band. Marion had indisputable evidence that Harold Hill was a quack. But she refused to use it because, you see, her brother didn't talk like this anymore because of the effect of Harold Hill. Back in 1957, I was in the 4th grade. And our music teacher came to our class and said, all of you, we want all of you to join the band. So I picked the trombone. This is my original trombone. It's 60 years old. I gotta tell you folks, I hated it. I hated to practice. When you start learning instruments, you get to play whole notes for as long as you can. And then you go to the next week, you get 2 whole notes for as long as you can. And then 3 whole notes for as long as you can. You see, the thing about this horn is it still plays. And I assure you that with a little practice, I could play it again if I could get my lip back into shape. 3 years ago, I used this horn and we put together a dance band for my 48th high school reunion. Man, what fun. There was a guy that was 7 years older than I was that was playing. There was a guy that was 20 years older than I was that was playing in that dance band. They just shamed me to death. But you know what? Even as bummed up and beat up and everything else that this horn is, it still can make some pretty decent music. Now, part of the problem is the welds are broken. It doesn't pull apart the way it's supposed to. All those kind of things. But you know what? It still plays. It still makes music. It still can be part of that band. But it took all the members of that dance band to make music. It wasn't just a trombone player. I think every person here has a calling to be a minister out in the world during the week. While it's just as crucial that we offer our gifts and ability to God and His glory, it's just as crucial that when we leave here, that we do the same with our friends, our relatives, the people we come in contact with. Next week, we're going to have one service, 9:30, right in here. After this service is over, we're going to have somebody from Pack Shack that's going to come in and it's going to tell us, all right, everybody, let's go. Some of you are going to sit and put in little measures of stuff. Some of you are going to tape. Some of you are going to heat seal and so on. Can any of us do those 40,000 meals by ourselves? No. If we did, we'd be here for a couple of weeks. I've got money on it that we're going to be done in 2 hours. From ages 4 to 104. What I don't want to hear is, I can't do it because I'm too old. I can't do it because I can't stand up that long. I can't do it because I can't lift. Guess what, folks? We got jobs that you can do sitting down. When the gong goes goes off, guess what? The rice starts flying. 40,000 meals. Are we like that trombone? We're not quite as shiny as we used to be. We're a little bent and dented. Our welds kind of come apart at times. I can't stand up straight. But you know what? We can make 40,000 meals, and God, that's beautiful music. Think of the impact that First United Methodist Church will have with those 40,000 meals. The food pantries that we will support. The schools, like right across the street, as they take meals home. Our backpack program. Isn't that what it's all about? So are you ready to be a marching band? Well, maybe not. Well, how about the percussion? Can you play together? Well, maybe not. How about a quintet, 5 of you? Can 5 of you play together? We know that a quartet can sing together. We've already done it. How about a duet? Just 2 of you. Or a solo. Stewardship is a big responsibility to use your gifts for God's glory. It's like the chancel choir. They have to come in and practice. You can't rely upon the fact that I sang in high school, so I can come in now and sing with you anytime because I can sing anything that was written. It doesn't work that way. How about this? I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but I'd be willing to bet that just about every one of you sitting out here sang in a choir at one time or another. Whether it was in college, whether it was in high school, whether it was in elementary school, or whatever. Can you imagine the expression on Kurt's face if you all came up to him and said, I want to sing one song with the choir? 250 people in the choir. What beautiful music that would be. Kurt, you better pick the piece right now because they're coming. They're coming. He's ready. He's got the music. There are people who have the gift of persuasion. The music man. He sold instruments to all the kids by convincing everyone they could make beautiful music by just thinking it. He was a smooth talker. And in some areas, you'd probably call him a con man. Now, there are people today that have the power of persuasion. They're car salesmen. All they got to do is say, what will it take for you to drive this one away today? $200 people in the choir. Wow. Wow. When you pray about something, do you believe that it's going to be answered? When you come for communion and you leave your sins here at the chancel area, are they forgiven forever? If not, why not? Why pray? If you don't believe they're going to be answered, if he can forgive my sins, folks, you got it easy. Yeah, believe it. Believe that we can make sweet music here at First United Methodist Church. Believe that we can do 40,000 meals in 2 hours. Believe it. Because it can happen. I think the most memorable example of Wilson's gift as a participant is 76 trombones. 76 trombones led the big parade, and 110 cornets right behind. And then it goes on and on. What I didn't realize until I started looking into his life and some of the research on that is that Marion, the librarian, sings the song, "Good Night, My Someone." And actually what Wilson did was he took the melodic line and just slowed it down. And that's where the melody line for "Good Night, My Someone" came from. We sat here a couple of weeks ago and watched Annie Zimmerman sing Cohen's number called "Hallelujah." She is giving her gift away each and every time that she sings for us. I sat here and thought, oh my, how mature she is. Even though I sat and watched her step up on the box so she could see over the lectern. Yeah. Then I thought, I wonder where she's going to end up, where she's going to go with this. America's Got Talent, the X Factor, the sky's the limit. Paul reminds us by saying, so we are to use our gifts in accordance with the grace that God has given us. In other words, consider Christ's example. What did he give us? He gave us his life so that we could be free, we could be forgiven. He gave us his son so that we might not be afraid to die and that we might be baptized. And a part of all of this, his body and the family of Christ. Have there been times in your past that you just couldn't make up your mind? Is it that, what am I going to do after high school? What college am I going to go to? What job am I going to apply for? Am I going to take the first job that comes in the door that gives me $1.295 for a salary? What car am I going to buy? Do we have a piece of music for a 250-member choir? He's already said yes. We've got it. Come on. Come on. We need to begin to believe in ourselves, our talents, our gifts, and use them for the glory of God, not just sit on them. Your parents told you if you don't use it, yeah. Did your parents ever lie to you? When all else fails, we look at the cross. We look at the stained glass that's up there. And we feel the need to use our talents and skills for the life of the church, for the blessings that God has given us. Amen. Amen. As Stephen has left the building, will the ushers please come forward?